YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Learn JavaScript with Foundry VTT. I'm finally getting it. It's finally sinking in with, not using. So anyway, in our last episode, which was literally a minute ago for me, well, let's go ahead, show our version. It hasn't changed in the last minute, but we went over some function expressions and talked about how right now a function expression really isn't that different. It's actually more typing than a regular function. But that, how much typing we actually do is not necessarily the point of this, our explanations of functions. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and we're going to make a kind of complex function just to kind of show you how they can be. So I'm going to go grab this guy. So we have a spacer, Control C, go in here, throw that there, and we're going to create ourselves two functions. One function is going to call the other function. So right now we have a dice that will roll a single whatever side dice we want. We have our set ones for D20, blah, blah, blah. We have our one that we can just say how many sides, and then all we have to do is pass in the sides and it will roll it. Then we have, what was this one? Rolling, I don't remember what we did in this one. Where we could choose the sides, rolling, well, this is kind of like what we did in our last episode. And then we did function expressions where we could actually say, okay, I'm rolling this many of this die. Now, I also mentioned this is not nearly as complex as what is built into Foundry, and nor is it even close to as nice. I mean, if we go look at Foundry, and we did a magic missile, which is still complex for our little program, but not as complex as you can do. I mean, with Foundry, you could actually say /r and say, well, let's do our fireball and our magic missile at the same time. So we could say 14 d6 plus, I don't know, let's imagine, like a 35, and then space plus, and we could say 11. I think this is good syntax, hopefully 11d4 plus 11. So something like that, and you'll see Foundry did it no problem at all. There's our 14d6, there's our 11d4, and you can see it's adding the 35 to that, and it's adding the 11 to that, and give you the total. Ours does absolutely nothing like this, but we are going to try and create something that is common in D&D. So what we're going to do, oops, not template, functions. What we're going to do is, because the D20 is the most common rolled dice, we're gonna create a special function called roller. Or no, we created roller already? We're gonna create a function called D20 roller, and it's gonna have the simple job of rolling a D20, and sometimes, depending on what you put in, it will roll advantage or disadvantage and tell you what those are. So you can, if you give it an A for advantage, if you pass an A into it for advantage, it will roll 2 dice and it will output the higher of the 2. If you put a D in, it will roll disadvantage, so it'll roll 2 dice and take the lower of the 2. If you don't put anything in, it will default to just rolling a single D20, which is the most common roll in D&D. And if you put in some weird character like a Q or something like that, it will simply output the word error. So let's begin. So just to kind of show you that the function and the function expressions, they can call each other. It doesn't matter. We're going to create our first little guy is going to be just a regular function. So function. So we're going to call a function. We're going to call this roll and an uppercase D and 20 because we haven't done that yet. And basically, we're not going to pass anything into this. This is going to be our roller because if we're rolling 2 dice, we don't want to have 2 identical commands saying roll 1 and roll 2 and have the exact same thing. So we're simply going to have our little guy right here. And that will be that entire function. We're just going to return return. R-E-T-U-R-N. We're going to just return our D20 roll. So this right here is going to be 20 because it's always going to be a 20. So now we can call this anytime and it will return a value between 1 and 20. So that's our first function. Pretty complex. And it's a regular function. Now let's do our second function as a function expression. We're going to do const. So we're going to const, and we're going to call this, let's call it D20 roller. I don't think we're using that anywhere up here. No, we have roll 20. Okay, we're good. So D20 roller, and this one is going to simply take in a parameter to tell us whether it's advantage, disadvantage, or nothing. Now, I don't know what to call it because I don't know what... Maybe we'll just call it mod for modifier? I don't know. Yeah, because I guess advantage, disadvantage. And we'll set the default for it to nothing. So basically undefined or no value there. And there we go. So, oh, whoops, I'm not doing this right at all so far. I got sidetracked. So we need to equal functi1. Hopefully you guys caught that. And we're like, hey, that's not a function expression yet. We needed the equals and the function. So now that is a function expression. So let's think about this. So we're always going to roll at least 1 die. So let's go ahead and we will call this, we'll do a const because it's not going to change. And we'll call it first roll. First roll. And it will be set to roll d20, the actual roll d20, not passing anything. So this will get us a value, and basically, because we're always going to roll 1 no matter what. If it's a standard roll, it's 1. If it's advantage, we're at least rolling 1. If it's disadvantage, we're at least rolling 1. The only time it really doesn't make sense is if you actually pass in the garbage value, because you're not going to output that as anything. Although we could just ignore the garbage value and just do a single roll, but we don't care. All right, so let's go ahead and check and say if, and we'll say mod. I don't think mod is a keyword anywhere. So if mod, and let's say equals blank. Because if that's the case, we just want to return our first roll and call it a day. Return first roll. And that's it. That will automatically give us our first roll. And the return, because it's fired off here, ends the function and it's done. It will not do any of the other executing of any of the other parts of this. So then, if it's not, and I don't know that this is necessarily the best way, but I think it might be the easiest way to understand. So if we do else, so if we say else, and now we know we're at least doing a second roll, so let's go ahead and const and set up our second roll. second roll equals, what do I call it? Roll d20. Roll d20, boom, like so. And there we go. So now we know, because it's not just a single roll. We didn't pass in anything, so it's more than a single roll. So we're going to roll a second die. And now what we want to do is check if mod was set to something. So we're going to say if, and we're going to say mod equals equals equals. Let's add in even some of our logic expressions. We'll say this or mod equals 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 this, because maybe they have their caps lock on. We're going to do that. We'll add the code in just a minute. Let's also say else if, and we want to else it else if, and we're going to take this exact same thing here, paste it right here, and we're going to use D instead for disadvantage. And then we want to catch all. We want a bucket that's going to catch anything else that is put in there, whether it's a letter, number, or anything else. We are going to set it to this default value of error. So we're going to say ELSE, and this one we can go ahead and say RETURN and put ERROR like that, maybe with an exclamation point to say we're angry. All right, so now all we need to do is come up with our syntax or our code for if it has an A or if it has a D. So let's go ahead and look at that. So now what we want to do is see if it's A, we want to check which die is higher. So we're going to say if, and we're going to say first roll is greater than second roll. Then we know that the first roll is higher, right? Yes. So that means we're going to return the first roll. Return first roll. Well, this also tells us if first roll is not greater than second roll, then obviously we want to return second roll. ELSE and RETURN SEC second roll. And there's our advantage check. And our disadvantage check is going to be identical, except we want to see if first roll is less than second roll. And then we can do the exact same thing. So we can say if, and do parenthesis, and say FIRST. First roll is less than second roll. And if it is, then we want to return first roll. Return first roll. Else, we want to return second roll. Second roll, like so. And that is pretty much it. Now we just have to go and pass some values to this thing. So to test, generally when you create something, you want to test all your parameters to make sure, you know, that if I type an A in, it's going to do advantage. If I type uppercase A in, it's going to do advantage. That way, you're testing all expected parameters. If I'm typing in a exclamation point, I'm hoping it's going to give me an error. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to want to do console.log, console.log. And we're going to, how should I do this? I want to, let's just do this. Let's do roll, RESULTS, and maybe put in parentheses there what our value we're passing in so we can keep track of that a little easier. And then D20 ROLL roller like that, and parentheses there. So that would be passing in nothing, so we just have empty parentheses. So, and then let's stick a console log between them. console.log, and go ahead and do that like so, and semicolon. And then because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of values parameters we can pass into it. We're going to paste this 5 more times. So I'm going to do Control C and then do V. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do this and put that there so I can put the A's and all the fun stuff in there. Go ahead and Control C, and we'll paste this 4 more times. So V, 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 V. And so this is, let's do D first maybe, and then maybe uppercase A, and then let's do a Q, and then maybe a lowercase a and an uppercase D. That should cover all our bases. So I'm going to put a lowercase d so we know that should be disadvantage. That will be advantage. We're not actually outputting the loser roll in the advantage disadvantage check, but that's okay. This was passing in a Q, this is passing in a lowercase a, and this is passing in an uppercase D. So let's go ahead and clear this, and now when we run this, we should see roll result, just a standard roll. We got a 7. That definitely seems like it was, seems like it would be, you know, standard roll, whatever. 9 definitely is a lower roll. 15 seems like it's a higher roll. I mean, it's really kind of hard to tell because we don't know what the other roll is. But just looking at the numbers, and if we run it again, you know, that definitely would be an advantage roll. 16, that could be advantage disadvantage, but as you can see, it is working as we want. Now we could stick in some code up here to verify. Trying to think, the easiest way is then if we, how would I want to do this? If we return first roll, then we'd also want to set a value for second roll, and then here we'd want to set that same value, and then we just simply output it. I don't think that's that important. We can just take it on faith that yes, that definitely looks like a disadvantage roll. And the logic's all there, and it seems to be outputting numbers where we need it. It's outputting an error where that's supposed to be. So I'm going to say yes, it is functioning as it should. If we wanted, we could go add in some checking and then later on remove it. But we're at just about 20 minutes and I don't want to go do too much more. I mean, well, do I? I don't know. It would have to be there. No, I don't know. Maybe we should, just so you can get an idea. This might make the episode actually go a little longer. So we will console.cons, especially if I misspell it. Console.log. We'll do this on each of them. That way it'll actually be a lot easier. It'll go real quick. So if we do console.log, and we'll just say maybe LOS, the loser, in advantage and disadvantage, and then we could do whatever the opposite roll is. So this would be SEC, second roll, like so. And then we could do that, and do Control C, and do the same thing here. And FIRST. So we can't actually like stick this at the very end, set a variable to it, and then at the very end, because these are going to return and it's going to exit the function. So we need to output the loser before we return the winner. And that's why we're doing it this way. I know it's confusing and ugly, and I probably would find a more elegant solution for this, but I just wanted to give us a quick, we can verify. So here you can see this was disadvantage, so the loser was the 18, the 10, so that is definitely disadvantage. This is advantage, 11 lost, 14 won. Our error obviously was an error. Once again, here's our advantage, 4 lost, 10 won. Here we see disadvantage, 17 lost, 10 won. 10 won twice. And if we hit that again, you'll see we get the same type of results where it's actually working. So yeah, I wanted to at least show you that yes, it is actually doing the advantage disadvantage properly. And I guess the only way we could do that properly is to show it with a quick console log on those other ones. So that kind of complicates the code, makes it look really kind of messy and stuff. But I think hopefully it wasn't too confusing for you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section, or you can join my Discord and leave a question there. You'll get a real quick response and be able to even hold on a conversation, because my Discord is almost always up and I reply to it pretty quickly. So I think that's it. Like I said, hopefully you understood this, were able to follow along. In the next episode, we are going to probably look at arrow functions, which are less typing, but in a sense, they can also be a lot more confusing to follow. Personally, me, I'm a terrible typer, slow typer and all that, but I would rather take the extra time to make clear code than to use lots of shorthand that make it a little harder to read. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed and learned something. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, subscribe, click the little notification bell so you know when I upload new videos. And follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord, my other channels. Tell other people about this channel. Have them check it out. If they like what they see, they can sub. And that is it, my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.